Welcome back to Alpha Awakened. This is Module 11 of the program. This module is called Fear, the Greatest Ally. Let's begin with a quote. "We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light." Plato. Today we're going to talk about fear. And simply put, fear is misunderstood. Fear is considered the enemy, and fear is feared. Yet fear can be our greatest ally. We're having this conversation to learn that a relationship to fear is one of the greatest and most powerful things you can ever have. So let's begin with what it is. Using Wikipedia, fear is an emotion induced by a perceived threat which causes a change in brain and organ function and ultimately a change in behavior, such as running away, hiding, or freezing from traumatic events. So this is incredibly important. Fear is based on a projected future. Again, it's a projected future. It does not mean that it will happen. So here's what's happening on a scientific level. The thalamus collects sensory data from the senses and passes it to the sensory cortex for interpretation and organization. It then disseminates it to the hypothalamus, which is in charge of fight and flight, the amygdala, which is the hormones in fear, aggression, and alertness, and then the hippocampus, which is memory capture, and it turns the recorders on. So once a person is in the safe mode, i.e. there's no longer any potential threat surrounding them, the amygdala sends this information then to the prefrontal cortex, where it is stored for similar future situations, which is known as memory consolidation. Now don't worry about having to capture all of that, but what I do want you to do is notice something. Fear is a process. It processes through your system. Yet were you ever taught that? Think about it. Most people are taught almost nothing about fear, and when they are, it's that the response is fight, flight, or freeze. So to most people, fear is something to be avoided at all costs, and when it arises, they only know fight, flight, or freeze. And in fact, most people don't even know the freeze part. Fight or flight is what I was taught when I was in school years ago. In addition to that, most people learn about fear themselves as they go through life, and fear arises in situations and they have to deal with it then and there, but they don't know what it is or how. So this is where we're going to do our first exercise. Take out your notebook and at the top of the page write "Fear, the greatest ally," and answer the question, where have you recently had a fight, flight, or freeze reaction? Write down what was the situation, who was there, and what specific outcome you feared. For example, I had a fight with my girl over not doing the dishes. I fought because I didn't want to get stuck in hours of processing and talking about blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's your turn. Take 5 or 10 minutes and write down where you recently had a fight, flight, or freeze reaction. Write down what was the situation, who was there, and what specific outcome you feared. Pause the video and restart it when you're done. Okay, really good. It's seldom pleasant to review such things, so good work. So what if there was another response, another way to be with fear that was not taught to you, a way of being that allowed you power and freedom in that very moment? Well, there is. To get there, let's go a bit deeper first. In the examples that you wrote down, now answer what triggered you in that situation, and specifically what boundary was being pushed. Take 5 minutes to take a good look and write down those boundaries. Pause the video and restart it when you're done. Good. Are you beginning to see that you have a boundary that you felt that you had to defend or that was violated? This is where we get to start seeing fear for what it really is. Fear identifies the boundaries that exist in your perception of yourself, bodily, emotionally, and mentally. Let me say that again. Fear identifies the boundaries that exist in your perception of yourself, bodily, emotionally, and mentally. This is where the gold is. Every time fear arises, what is actually happening is that you're approaching the boundary of who you know yourself to be. And beyond that boundary, you do not know who you will be. And at an extreme level, you don't know if you will be anymore. So remember the process that we just outlined. It's a process. It turns out that fear is a massive data download through your system. And your entire system turns on, fully on, into a state of highest activity. All systems go, ready for anything, ready for everything, processing a tremendous amount of information, a heightened state of awareness, and a clear identification of all of the boundary lines. Now notice you do not fear what you already know. Knowing is the ability to function within the system that exists. Wherever there's a boundary is the next layer of learning. For humans, this means new sensations, new emotions, new thoughts and insights, expanded expression, capability and capacity. Fear identifies the boundaries. And when you have a relationship to fear, it will be the place of your greatest and most accelerated growth and expansion. So how do you do this? You do it by slowing the process down. Now, obviously, what's happening around you that is causing the fear reaction to begin, you can't slow that down. But what you can slow down is your perception of the process. And by doing so, you're opening to the flow and slowing it down. It's like a garden hose. When you have your finger over the hose, there's only so much room for the water to flow through. And it's high pressure, very fast flow. But if you take your thumb off the opening, the pressure decreases and it appears to slow down. And this is how to operate in the place of fear. We see what is happening and adjust to shift the flow. So we have a saying, fear means feeling everything, alter reality. So observe the source of fear and observe your psychological response to it. Observe the patterned behavior that wants to turn on. Observe the opening where you don't want to go towards and go towards it. Observe the sensations that are arising in your body and your emotions and your mind as you go towards what this is. Now, going towards doesn't mean necessarily physically going towards it, but it's bringing your attention and awareness towards it so that you are looking directly towards what it is that is causing this response in you. So let's give a few examples of what feel everything, alter reality looks like. As a coach, one of the things that I do is I take people to situations where they must experience their fears. And in a group setting, I've taken individuals on a series of cliffs where we jump over waterfalls into pools, and we do this for the entire day through a course of over 20 waterfalls. And it's not so that one runs and jumps off the cliff really quickly to prove that they're strong and they know how to deal with fear. No. They walk to the edge and they slow down so they can feel what's arising. They feel and sense the rush of the water shaking the ground. They feel their heart pounding. They feel their emotions rise. They feel their thoughts. And they slow down so that they can experience what that is. And as their body recalibrates and their capacity expands, then they have a different relationship to what is occurring. And only when they have been able to sit in that place and integrate are they then allowed to jump by their own choice into the pool below. So this is an example, and there's so many small examples in life that you can apply this to find your boundaries and do an exploration. And in the moment of your doing this, you actually alter the code that is upwritten. Lastly, to really make the point clear, it's not about doing stupid things and putting yourself in harmful situations. It's around being studious and understanding how to bring your awareness to this process that is integrated into your being so that you use it for the maximum value that it brings, rewriting your code so that your life is completely expanded by the process. And because your code is upwritten in the moment, it is a real-time transmutation. Thus the value of finding it. When you sense, oh, there's a boundary, turn towards it and allow the process to begin. And within a few moments, you will have recalibrated your entire being. Feel everything, alter reality. In this place of high intensity, remember everything you've already learned about your capacity and your range and your ability to calibrate, and bring that online. Find the yes that allows you to stay in that place. And the longer and deeper that you can be there, you will literally be rewriting your code. Remember that how the system works is that when there's no longer any threat, so if you can stay in that place until you realize there is no threat, the information that passes to your prefrontal cortex, where it's stored for the future, will be different. And what that means is, in real time, as you're staying in that place, you are changing what code will be uploaded into your being. You are changing how you can always be from that moment forward. Again, in real time, by staying in this place, you're able to process everything and be with it, and be with what is happening. You are transmuting. Your code is going to be upgraded. That is what feel everything, alter reality means. Good. You understand the process of transmutation right there. So now let's get back to the examples that you wrote earlier. And we're going to ask what new sensations and opportunities that you can see were available there for you if you were willing and able to be with what was happening versus responding. So in the example that I gave you, instead of arguing over the dishes, there was an opportunity to hear what was going on for your girlfriend, for example, and to be able to share what was going on for you. There was an opportunity to bring love back from a place of conflict, to let some ego go. Do you see where the opportunities were? So you know what I'm talking about. Find the places where you could have gone that would have expanded your life towards pleasure, increased patience, increased your compassion, your self-respect, and allowed you to be more of who you know yourself and want yourself to be. The reason that we know that you can find this information, look at it, is because of that memory recording capacity that we just talked about. In that argument and that fight, that memory was stored for you. So in this exercise, go back to that memory, which is fully there, open it up, and find the opportunities. Take 5 minutes to take a good look and write them down. Pause the video and restart it when you're done. Okay, excellent work. You are literally going back into the memory banks of storage from fear, opening them up and seeing where the opportunity is to transmute your code. Incredible. Good work. In addition, you actually had to put your ego down that got into defense. And right there, in that moment of opening and seeing what is possible, that is what enables transformation and growth. The beauty of the fear process and why developing a relationship to it is so valuable is that once you understand what is happening, you can be a participant in the process and understand what is occurring and how to engage with it. What's happening then is that you're being at choice. You're being agentic with the code of you that is being written by you and in you. So in the module that we called Capacity and Range, we covered how to expand your capacity and how to increase your range. What we're doing here is applying those skills and that discipline to wherever fear process arises. Anywhere where you find fear, you have found a boundary and an opportunity to learn about yourself and expand. It's incredible. Calibrate yourself to understanding where fear is in your life so that you can go and explore how to expand yourself. This is what extreme athletes do. They are calibrating themselves and understanding their dynamic range and capacity. So now let's do another exercise that will present you to where you can apply this discussion even further. This time I want you to widen your lens and look at places where you have fear or nervousness or anxiety or are avoiding doing something or saying something. We're widening the lens. We're understanding that fear has many flavors. So perhaps there are things that you are avoiding, like asking for things like a raise, or asking out a girl, or taking a girl out, or changing your relationship dynamic, or telling the truth where you're currently telling a lie. You get the idea. In this section, so you can really go deep, take 10 minutes and write down 3 things for each one of these places that you identify, and identify at least 5. Number 1, write down what it is that you fear. Number 2, who is involved? And number 3, what would you gain if you took the action that you were fearing? Okay, now it's time to do the work. Take 10 minutes here at minimum, pause the video, and restart it when you're done. Okay, good work. Way to find the opportunity in what would normally be a boundary state that would be avoided. Are you seeing how much room there is for you to grow and step into your power? An awakened alpha is intently aware of wherever and whenever he feels the fear process arise. It's like Star Wars. You feel the disturbance in the Force. That's the place where there's an opportunity for a huge opening and expansion. That's why he is willing to feel everything that arises. The awakened alpha is open to growth. Notice it is the opposite of what most people do. That is what makes an alpha an alpha. Feeling everything, alter reality. Life will never be the same. This week's life play. There are going to be times where you feel fear, nervousness, anxiety, or are avoiding doing something or saying something. Without causing yourself or others mental, emotional, or physical harm, be willing to feel everything that arises and observe what changes as you stay in that place and take those actions to go toward those boundaries. Write down what happens and what expands for you. Enjoy the new expansion. Enjoy the new world that you are creating from your new relationship to fear, and feel how you are literally recoding yourself, your capacity, and your range to live an expressed life. You are creating a new relationship to fear. It is now your greatest ally, now that you know the truth. When you feel everything, you alter reality. Have a great week. I look forward to hearing your stories, and we'll see you in the next module.